Hello and welcome to the January free card class. Sorry I can't be with you live this week. I was just a little bit worried about running out of time, so decided to do the video and have this ready to post ahead of time. So for the free class, we're actually going to be using products from Annual Catalogue, the new mini catalogue. And if you haven't seen that or haven't got a copy yet, please let me know and I'll get those to you as soon as possible. And also products from Celebration. So let me show you the two cards and then I'll show you the products. So this is the first card, which is using embossing folder and also the designer series paper from Celebration. And again, we're using the same paper, which is called Flight and Airy, and the same embossing folder as well. Which I can't quite remember the name of, but I'll show you that in the catalogue. So let me show you these products first. So we have on page 6 of Celebration, we do have the Flight and Airy designer series paper, which comes in 12 by 12. I will be sharing swatches with you just in a little bit so you can get a better idea of what they are. And the embossing folder is a part of the Softly Sophisticated bundle, which this is a free Celebration item with $180 spend. So you do get the stamp set and the embossing folder. I love this embossing folder. I think it's a really versatile one. I think you'll enjoy using that one as well. So that is the Celebration products. The stamp set that I've used on the second card is from Heartfelt Hexagons. Sorry, it took me a moment to think of that. And this is in the mini catalogue. And of course, if you don't have this stamp set, you're going to be able to choose something from your collection. And I use the Sending You Lots of Love and Hugs, but you could do any of these sentiments and it's going to work really, really nicely for this card. Okay, and this blue is really beautiful. It's boho blue, which is one of the new in colours that came in earlier this year. And finally, on the second card, the Thinking of You. This is a stamp set you should be familiar with. It's called Go To Greetings, which is on page 97 of the annual catalogue. I use this stamp set weekly, at least weekly. It does have all of your basic sentiments in it. So if you're looking for a really good sentiment stamp set, this is one of the best ones, and it also has your different fonts as well. So it covers all your basics and your really nice fonts to go with it. So that is the second stamp set that I'm using. I'm only using just the one ink pad, which is boho blue. And of course, let me just quickly show you these, the two different stamp sets. Heartfelt Hexagons does have, or you can purchase this in a bundle, which does have the punch that will punch out those hexagons. Okay, so let's get started with, go with this one first. So, oh, actually before I do, I've got the designer series paper here to share with you. So with one of the cards, I have spent time fussy cutting some of the images. Now with yours, you might have got an image that has the two birds or a single. So these look like they've got that watercolor finish to them. And these are just the cutest papers, and the selection of colors is really fantastic in this as well. So I have seen samples with all of these fussy cut out. And even these ones you can do the same. And of course you've just got your single birds on this one, which are an easier fussy cut. So there's the 6 different designs. Flip them over, you do have some less busy patterns, plus you've got some of these more floral sort of backgrounds, which is the one that I've used on this card. Okay, so let me just pop these aside. And I'm just going to put these back together so that when I share cards using these again, I actually don't have to recut the swatches. Okay, so this card here, there we go, I think you can see that. I have done my little bit of fussy cutting ahead of time, just in the interest of saving time. Now, as I mentioned, you may have just the single bird, or you may have one that has the two birds. So I did fussy cut that out, and of course with your free kits I have used the embossing folders, which is that nice one from Celebration, so that yeah, you got the nice new product to use. So quickly with these pieces that I've got here, I've got my thick white cardstock base, which is the standard half a sheet of A4, which I've scored halfway across. My two pieces of pink, they are the same size, so that's 10 centimeters by 14.4, and my piece of white is 9.5 by 13.9. So I'll start by finishing off the middle. I'll just fold my card in half first. And I'm going to use just some Stampin' Seal to finish off the inside. Now, of course, if you're making this one and you've got the papers, you can add a little strip of Designer Series paper on the inside as well, or even another one of those birds would be really cute as well. Okay, and again some Stampin' Seal, and just remember, if you're using this, that little tick at the end, just to break the stream of adhesive. And into the inside. This pink is Bubble Bath, which is one of the new colours we had with the new annual catalogue when they did the colour refresh, which is really nice. So while I'm going, I am going to stick my piece of embossed Bubble Bath down. Again, I'm just using some Stampin' Seal for this one. And onto your card front. One of the colours that we do have in this Designer Series paper is Garden Green, which is why I've brought that darker colour in. So those two will be stuck together. Before I do that, I do have my piece of white. Actually, let me give you the measurements of this one. So we've got 8 centimeters by 12.5 for the Designer Series paper. I've got 8.5 by 13. Would that be right? Yes, by 13 for the piece of Garden Green. So this small piece here is going to be 8 centimeters by 6. Okay, so we've got 8 by 6 for this smaller piece. You can adjust this sort of piece to whatever size, just depending what extra you're adding onto your card. So I'm going to stick this down with some Stampin' Seal, and I have done this lower than halfway, so it's maybe 2 centimeters up from the bottom. And you may need to trim just a little tiny bit off the edge. Now, of course, you can choose whichever side of the Designer Series paper you like for these cards. Okay, this I'm now going to stick onto the piece of Garden Green. This is the prettiest paper. Okay, and then dimensionals behind this to go onto the card front. I've just got some standard size ones here. And might cut up a few of these little bits around the outside just to add a little bit of extra support for the middle of the card. Okay. Now this card design, as I always say, it is going to work with any Designer Series paper you would like to use. If you don't have the papers that have got good images to cut out, and a lot of them do, just replace that stamped image, the images from your Designer Series paper with a stamped image. Okay, so the next layer goes on, and as mentioned, dimensionals. I'm going to be putting my bird there, which is going to be stuck down flat just with a little bit of Tombow, and then I've also got my sentiment to stamp first. As I mentioned, boho blue. If you don't have boho blue, you can pick another blue, you could pick green, you could pick a pink tone. Just choose a colour that will coordinate with the paper. And I've got a thinking of you, but I think I might make this one a happy birthday. Now, as you can see, I do have my glass mat underneath me, and I just need to, because I know my boho blue is a bit juicy, so I just want to make sure that's going to stamp properly. Oops. Let me just get rid of that extra bit of ink from there, just so it doesn't transfer onto my piece of cardstock. So this one is going to be a little bit of a tight fit, but I hope it fits. Oh, there we go. It's not quite perfect, but I'm actually happy that it's actually worked. And it looks kind of straight. I think this, with the font of this, is just a little bit forgiving. So not quite perfect, but good enough. Okay, so I need to stick the bird down first. As mentioned, I am just going to use some Tombow. Now, if you're not a huge fan of Tombow, what I recommend is just take a look at how much you're using when sometimes you get a little bit of warping with the liquid glue. If you're getting that and the warping in the cardstock, it just means you're using too much. So just use a little less and you won't get that. And then my sentiment is going to go around about there. And I'm going to put that on with some dimensionals, but I think I might use, actually I've got a couple of half pieces there that I will use just from around the edge. So there we go, a couple of pieces of dimensional. And onto the card front. So that is the first card complete. So not too difficult, but just the prettiest paper. As I mentioned, you'll either have the two birds or a one bird, and either one is going to work really quite nicely. Okay, so let's move on to the second card, which is this one just here. So again, you'll have everything in your kit that you need. And if you don't have the same stamp set or ink pad, again, just choose a colour ink that is going to coordinate with what we've got on the paper. So let me just go through the products you'll have. You'll have the card base, which again is the thick white cardstock, which is scored in the middle. The boho blue pieces are both the same size. We've got 10 centimetres by 14.4. The piece of white for the inside is 9.5 by 13.9, and these pieces here will have 14.4 by 4.5 is the piece designer series paper, and 14.4 by 5 for the piece of Calypso coral, which just gives that card a little bit of a pop of colour. Okay, so I think I'll start again with, oops, sorry about that, folding my card in half, and I'll complete the inside before moving on to decoration on the front. Again, as before, some double-sided tape or Stampin' Seal. These two layers can be stuck together and then into the card base. Now again, this is another really great design to use, and you just need to change up perhaps, you know, the designer series paper. You can change up the shape. You could use a circle, or if you don't have punches or dies, you could just cut a rectangle to put there. So it's quite versatile in that sense. So got the inside done. Next, I'm going to start sticking down my layers, and I have done this roughly in the middle. You can of course go lower or higher, just depending on where you would like this to sit. And you may need to trim just a slight amount up or slight amount off one end, because you will notice I've cut all of these just slightly longer. So if you stick on each layer at a time, then trim, you'll find it's really quite easy to then trim it up, because you're not going through. Oh, see, that's really nice too with the birds. It's almost a shame. I'd have to cover the birds over. I might use that side. So as I mentioned, you can pick and choose which side of the designer series paper you would like to use, and sometimes it's a little bit more tricky because both sides are really nice. Okay, so trim up that little bit. Before I stick this down, it will be stuck down with dimensionals onto the card front. This is the boho blue ribbon. So you are going to be tying a reef knot, which is right over left and under, and then left over right and under. Now you will have seen me do this knot an awful lot, because when I am doing the knots, this is my go-to, because it does sit nice and flat and the tails go out nicely to each side. So to decide where that is going to sit, I'm going to place my knot where I want it to sit. Mark with your thumb and then snip. And you may just need to work the ends just a tiny little bit. And I'm going to be sticking this down at the back with a bit of sticky tape. And just to help hold this a little bit more securely, I will be putting a glue dot underneath that knot as well. Okay, and as you can see, I do have a little bit of extra. You can leave it there or trim that off. Okay, and I'm also going to trim up the ends of the ribbon just to make those look a little bit finished. Okay, so actually I'll stick this on now, this is going on with dimensionals, and I need to do a glue dot. And the glue dot will just hold that knot in place really nicely. And the easiest way to pick up your glue dots, of course, is with the Take Your Pick tool. There we go, I think that's slipped a little bit. That'll be okay. All right, almost done. So I'm going to use, again, some dimensionals for this one. And these are, of course, as I mentioned earlier, these are the standard size, so they are a little bit bigger. I also find these ones, it's a little easier to get the paper backing off them as well. Just with them being a little bit bigger. Okay, so those who are following along, of course, one of the bonuses about watching a pre-recorded video, of course, is you can stop it, but I am moving it a little bit quicker through this, but you can pause the video as you're going. I didn't stick that on very straight, so I might lift that after and reposition it. Actually, I'll show you how to do it now. So maybe you've never seen that done before. It's something I've gotten really good at doing over the last few years, or last many years that I've been crafting. With the Take Your Pick tool, we do have the spatula end, and this is really great just to slide in and lift up that, whatever you put down wrong. Now there are some different products that you can use that are on the market. I can't even tell you what the names of those ones are or how well they work. My go-to is always a tool like this. The other one that's really good to use as well is your bone folder, because that's nice and flat and will actually get underneath what you're working on a little bit too. Final bit. There we go. These dimensionals aren't going to be much good, so you'll be able to just peel those off. They will leave a little bit behind. You could use an adhesive remover to get rid of the rest of that. But that only took less than a minute to get it back up. Now, even with double-sided tape, you will find that it's actually quite easy to get that up as well, as long as it hasn't been stuck down for too long. All right, try again. And I'm not going to be putting the dimensionals directly over the first ones that I put down, just so that it doesn't give it too much extra thickness. Okay, so we'll try again. Hopefully this time I'll stick it down a little bit straighter. So now you know if I need to lift something, what I use. So it is the take your pick tool, that fine metal spatula end. Okay, let me see if I can get this done a little better this time. Okay, I'm happier with that. And of course you'll need to just clean that sticky bit off the end of the tool later on. Okay, stamp. As I mentioned, I am using heartfelt hexagons. So I actually think I might make this one a sympathy, because sympathy cards are those ones that we always need, but sometimes they can be a little bit tricky to make. But this one is with sincere sympathy. And again, I'm just going to check this one. It looks good. And this one, being a photopolymer stamp set, is a whole lot easier to line up. There I have my with sincere sympathy. This is going to go onto the card front with dimensionals, and then this is finished, this card. Okay, so a few dimensionals. I am going to try to avoid the little bit across the middle, because I've got my ribbon there and I want this to sit just a little bit flat. And just another piece, and of course always cut up your edge pieces of your dimensionals. Now once I've finished this, I do have a couple of reminders to share with you, so I'll grab those out in just a moment. The first and most important one, of course, is it's Celebration at the moment, and you have until the end of February, so the 29th of February is when Celebration finishes. So you do have still time to take advantage of earning yourself free products, and there's no limit to how many you can earn. Okay, so let me bring in the two cards that I've made today. So there they are there, with same card, different side of the designer series paper and a slightly different bird. I hope that's, there we go, I hope that's in view. Really cute, really simple designs. You can reproduce these ones quite easily. I've just altered where I've put my sentiment, just so I can see a little bit more of that cute little bird's face. Okay, so the reminders. Okay, I am going to share this one with you. I have one more spot left for the mini catalogue designer series paper sampler. That is a $40 total, and it gives you a 6x6 of every sheet of the designer series paper in the mini catalogue. This is a really great way to sample them, and then if you decide you really love one packet of paper and you've used a lot of it, you may choose to purchase a whole packet. So these are a really great option to get your hands on multiple sheets. Out of each 6x6, you'll get at least two pieces you can use on the card front. You might end up with more, just depending on how you use it. January giveaway is a take your pick tool. So this little beauty here that I've used earlier, you would have seen me use this a lot during Facebook Lives and videos. So with that one, you'll get one entry into the draw with every $50 spend. So you don't have to spend the $90 to get into the entry for this. Of course, if you spend $100, you earn your free celebration product. $50, you also get the free class for next month. And of course, for every 50, so you get for $100 purchase, 2 entries. Final one, which this one is a little bit time sensitive, mini catalog and celebration card buffet launch. I do have 2 of those. One will be Thursday the 1st of February at 7:30 and Thursday the 3rd of Feb at 1:30. So there's a Thursday and a Saturday, which I think I might have just said Thursday for both days. These are really fabulous events. I've got all of the details on my Facebook page, so just click on the events tab and you can go in and find all the information about that. So thank you so much for those who are able to join me for this free class. I really hope you enjoy making these cards, and of course if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks so much.